Haha! Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining our webinar. I hope it's gonna be an interesting one because today we're gonna talk about the crypto threat landscape. Joining me here today is the one and only Mr. Vitaly Kamluk. Thank you, Vitaly. Welcome. Um, I think we can start sharing our slides. But before we go into our talk, I would like to, Mr. Vitaly, if you can say something about yourself, present yourself to our public.
Thank you, Dan. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Whatever time it is for you now. My name is Vitaly Kamluk, and I think it's better to show it on this slide. So we have nice corporate photos here. I am principal security researcher with Kaspersky. I'm based out of Singapore, and I had a team of regional Asia-Pacific researchers that specializes in targeted attack investigation. Spent a couple of years working in a digital forensic lab at Interpol, and I generally try to help police catch the bad guys and also develop some tools for them. I'm highly interested in malware research, reverse engineering, and cyber investigations. What about you, then?
Oh, so if you remember, we actually worked on, I would say, 2 or 3 cases together. We had some interesting research and findings during our threat intelligence and malware research. And also, as Mr. Vitali said, I'm also part of GREAT. I am mostly in charge of the infrastructure management and building tools for my colleagues, such as Vitali, to help them do their investigations faster. And also a plus thing, both of us, we released open source software for you to use it and to deploy it in your infrastructure. And you might have heard of the famous BitScout, which is the forensics framework, which is open sourced. You can check it out. You can check Vitaly's project on GitHub, and you can also check my project, which is called Clara, which is basically a Yara scanner. You can deploy it in your house. But today we're gonna talk about different topics. Different topics. We're gonna talk about what the research that we did in the past year, in the past month. And if we go to the agenda, you'll see that we have a small intro into cryptocurrency threats, just a little bit to get you up to speed of what's happening and what happened in the past months. And then we're going to delve into more advanced target attacks and the latest development on what happened and what you can expect to see in the upcoming future. So, Mr. Vitali?
All right, thank you, Dan. We're gonna start from just overall reminder about those who are completely disconnected from this world, that there's been a major market downturn in 2022, of course, related to the drop of cryptocurrency value and the overall cryptocurrency industry facing a large liquidity crisis. And despite the fall, the cryptocurrency market is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 12% over the next 6 years, reaching revenues around 2.8 billion US dollars by 2028. So it's going to retake and kind of restore, I think, its significance. The downfall undermined, of course, the trust and confidence of users, which only escalated the negative processes. And in addition, ongoing criminal applications of cryptocurrency in the field of targeted ransomware attacks of unprecedented scale in the past 2 or 3 years, I think, has pushed many users further away. So what we wanted to start today from is, like Dan mentioned, a quick recap of cryptocurrency threats, and then a little bit of current situation, what users feel about cryptocurrency, where the threats for them are personally, and how do they respond? Because we did a quite nice survey, and we wanted to start from that. So first of all, cryptocurrency threats 101. So there are three classes of cryptocurrency threats that we kind of separate, we recognize. The most benign of them are just using your CPU and RAM and power of your computers to mine cryptocurrencies. And although this is still technically illegal, this is a malware. We call it cryptojack class. It is not as harmful as directly stealing from your pocket, which is much more.
I think I can't hear you anymore, Mr. Vitaly. Let's see, maybe it's something with your microphone. Or maybe my connection is bad. But I think I can see you really well. I can see you, but I can't hear you. It actually disconnected throughout the way.
Check.
Yes. Now you're back.
Excellent. So
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Where did you lose me? At which part?
We lost you at the second part. Also, I would like to take this opportunity to tell our viewers that if they want to shout, to write any questions, to ask us, to you can interrupt us. We are happy to answer your questions. We are happy to answer as many questions as we can. And don't be afraid to ask them during our presentation, because me and Vitaly would like to have this webinar as interactive as possible. So feel free to ask your questions. And also at the end, we're going to have a Q&A session. Sorry. So yes, please feel free to shout your questions. So Mr. Vitaly, I think you can continue now.
Thank you. Yeah, there was a first question just arrived. It says, I can hear as well. So yeah, thank you for your input, sir.
Thank you.
Please continue with directions. So two other classes, crypto theft and crypto scam. They are, I would say, more dangerous because they are directly related to stealing of credentials or keys, or organizing unsolicited transactions. So that's crypto theft. And crypto scam uses a variety of social engineering techniques. Usually it is malware free, but also leads to financial loss due to various schemes and secret traps. One of the latest schemes is related to withdrawal fraud. I don't want to dive deep into that, but if you're really into understanding new, let's say, more or less recent scheme to trick users, so take a look. We did blog about this and explain how withdrawal fraud works. So you can just snap the QR code here or just follow the URL if you take it further. So it is worth of reading for sure, because things like this will come up in the future too. You need to be ready for the new ones. So learn from the past and then get ready for the new. Now, of course, to anticipate the future threats in the field, we must understand what people readiness are, and then perception of general cryptocurrency and the related issues of it. So this is why we did a survey last year. Kaspersky commissioned a company called Arlington Research to undertake one quantitative global online research with about 12,000 people from 16 countries. The sample group included a diverse range of users who had familiarity with the cryptocurrency, various familiarity. And users can be classified into 5 categories. So we had regular users, individuals who currently own cryptocurrency and use it frequently to purchase something or donate. And then there are wait-and-see owners, individuals who own cryptocurrency mainly as a form of experimentation or investment. Passive owners, individuals who own cryptocurrency but do not actively use it. Then there are ex-owners, those who used to own cryptocurrency, no longer do. And non-owners, people who never owned cryptocurrency and they have just a basic awareness of cryptocurrency. So speaking of the survey results, more users started to understand how crypto works, which is good. So people progress over time. Now we see growth of crypto awareness. In the last 4 years, crypto awareness has grown compared to 2019 And when 45% said that they had only heard of cryptocurrency but didn't know how it works, and that was 7% in 2019, 31 in 2022. Nearly a third of consumers, about 31%, now claim to have a good or even a full understanding of how cryptocurrency works. Well done. People living in APAC specifically, this is where I'm based, an area of the world with the most e-mobile and digital commerce. This is where the awareness of cryptocurrency users is the highest. 51% claim to have a better understanding of cryptocurrency when compared to other regions. Moving on about crypto threats. This is, however, is still a problem. There's still a low awareness about threats coming from, related to crypto. Only a quarter of those surveyed feel well informed about the threats faced by cryptocurrency, and almost the same amount of users, like 23%, have no information at all. In general, awareness decreases with age, and currently the higher among young consumers under the age of 35. Now, speaking of the users' concerns, cyber attacks causing money loss are clearly the biggest concern for users. The virtual theft and scams are common concerns about cryptocurrency users, 27 and 56%, prioritized over other threats like cryptojacking, which takes just only 5%. Now, cyber threat perception also varies by region. For instance, in South Africa, in Asia Pacific, crypto investment fraud, which takes about 23% and 50% respectively for South Africa and APAC, and fake apps, roughly about 16%, are the major concerns for those users. And in Europe, it's quite different. So blackmail and extortion, 30% of the users are the key concerns. Now, let's talk about crypto protection. Because users believe cryptocurrency needs more protection. Nearly half of the respondents, about 49%, do not believe that the current protection systems for cryptocurrency are effective. And a significant portion, about 31%, believe that these systems offer very little to no protection against threats. People think that crypto needs more regulation. And when it comes to market management, 54% would like to see regulation by an independent authority, while 44% agree cryptocurrency regulation should be carried out by banks. The idea of enforceable laws against cryptocurrency-related cybercrime is met with the greatest approval, with 72% expressing support for such enforcement. Now, let's get back to our business.
Yeah, but there's something interesting that we discussed before the webinar, and if we look at the past slide, we can see that and this is what we discussed before. 44% of the people said that they would like crypto to be regulated by banks. But if we remember what Satoshi Nakamoto said, he said, "Man, we want to create a system that is independent of the banks, that allows the people the freedom to move money, their money, where they want." And what do you think about this kind of clash of ideas where we developed a system which was out of the bounds, out of the regulation of the banks, and now, because of all the problems, people want that system to be back in the regulated by banks?
Yeah, that is interesting. Essentially, Satoshi Nakamoto's statement was like, "Screw banks, let's do it between us. Like, we don't need to pay the fees and stuff." I respect that, but it seems like it was like the initial movement, and a lot of kind of enthusiasts joined on this wave. Now people want safety, and where they feel safe is with traditional old systems, with banking infrastructure, heavy monitored, and then possible, which are able to, let's say, revert transactions and then investigate fraud and things like that. In distributed ledger world, there's no entity that can have such a power, and transactions are irreversible. So that's the issue. Like, once somebody steals their money, you just can't revert the transaction. In bank, you can call your financial institution and say, like, "Look, I have not authorized this purchase. This is fraud." And they can revert it. And there's insurance also, and there's a bunch of other protection mechanisms and controls which do not exist in crypto. And that's why people think that, well, maybe banks can do it better. But I don't know. I doubt it's possible, because the technology itself is not designed to be controlled by a central entity. So it has to be distributed. It has to stay there.
For sure, and the actual technology was so revolutionary, like the blockchain idea, and the entire DeFi ecosystem that was built upon it is like amazing. And we can talk about Web3, etc., etc. But I think a lot of people jumped in. A lot of people wanted, and I'm not talking about the people who wanted to actually earn a quick buck. They wanted to speculate on top of the volatility of the Bitcoin. No, I'm talking about the actually early adopters, enthusiasts who believed or who believe in the blockchain technology. I think the problem is that users didn't realize the multitude, the big amount of attacks that we are actually talking about, some of them here, which those attacks, they hit a lot of users very fast with a big damage in terms of like money loss.
Yeah, I suggest we continue with exactly this point.
Exactly this one. Yeah. We will move on to targeted attacks against like crypto systems, and you might know one of the most famous attack that happened in 2016 from the Bangladeshi bank heist, and I think this was developed, and this was basically put in place by one of the most resourceful groups in the world. You might have heard about the Lazarus and their subgroup, which is called Blue Norov. It is believed to be associated with the North Korea. Also, lately, we published about this thing. Then NSA also, they published a report, and they said that they also believe they have ties. So they started hitting individuals in cryptocurrency, and they started hitting them like really hard. Of course, this is the until that, at least that we know, this is the only group that steals money. That their focus is, hey, we are maybe like we are sanctioned, our country is sanctioned. We want to try to steal as much money as possible. So where can we steal this money from? Cryptocurrency. So Blue Norov is the one that you should be looking out for. And actually, it's interesting that you will see that we actually started writing our latest report, and we started writing around this time last year. You can see in this slide here that we had an APT report, which was written by Mr. Vitali himself here, and my colleague Seung-Soo from South Korea. This report is interesting because it was published on 13th of January 2022, and it was a 15-minute read. So a 15-minute read, you can see it on the top right corner, 16-minute read. Everybody can read it. Like, you don't have to be extremely technical, and then you can understand their modus operandi and the techniques deployed by the Blue Norov gang. If we look at the victims that happened throughout the last year, the victimology from beginning of 2022, and just so you know, this is not basically, it's not a full map of the victims, because maybe we don't have the full visibility. We don't know all the victims. You can see they are kind of spreading their net throughout the entire world, or at least in countries where they might know that there are potential victims with where they can extract some money from. And if we look at some of the methods they were using this attack, you actually might say, this looks like normal. Can you spot anything here? By
So
the way,
just to add to introduce, like the screenshots illustrate here the emails. These are screenshots from the emails arriving to people's Gmail inboxes. So it just you receive this when somebody shares a Google Drive document with you, or a file through Google Drive or Google Doc. So this is how it looked. The question is like, can you spot something unusual here on the screenshots?
so
We blurred the names specifically, so this is not the anomalous thing. That's not the
personally, I
feature.
think I would click. I would click on those links. But if you look at those stuff more closely, you can see something interesting. And this is what Vitaly mentioned here. You can see the typo in the last phrase, the double O. So if you look at how Google's, because this is like basically Google Drive, Google has an automated system for delivering those messages. There is no way they have a typo in their automated system. So this means that this entire nice looking form with this button open and the name was written manually by somebody. It was written by the attackers.
Should have been a template, don't you agree? I mean,
Yeah,
you should
yeah.
have just copy pasted the HTML page from the original Google Drive. There would be no such mistake. Why did it? Like, it's such a silly mistake.
I don't know, but even with this silly mistake, you can see, we will see later that victims actually downloaded this document. And once they downloaded, once they clicked download, they had this file, which apparently came from Google Drive, on their disk, on their computer. So now the unsuspecting victim clicks on it, and then something else shows up. Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word,
It's a
and then
splash window, right? So
splash
when
window,
the
the
Word
splash
is
window.
booting up, loading up all the components and opening the file, it's just
Which is,
there for a second or so.
yeah, exactly. Which is normal. Actually, this splash window actually appears for all kind of documents that you're loading. But you can see something unusual here. You can see that for a brief moment, it says opening HTTPS and then some weird looking domain which ends in XYZ.
It's Google service. It's legit, isn't it?
XYZ, Google service. This is kind of suspicious. But even then, even then, with that suspicion in mind, you get presented with another page. And in this page, which actually comes from a real attack, you can see also something suspicious. And this is kind of related to how other phishing campaigns are deployed on the internet. I think, no, Vitaly?
Yeah, that's right. Like normally, like when you receive a document of such, the social engineering technique is to show you the page that tries to first build trust and establish a trust relationship with you as a target. So it says something like protected document, or maybe coming from a reputable vendor, or using the name of Microsoft or Kaspersky in this case. On the screenshot on the right, it's actually Kaspersky and Enhanced Security. I don't know what products
Embedded
is that.
security.
I don't think we, or embedded maybe. We I don't think we have that partnership agreement. It's just somebody made up this doc just to let people follow the instruction that says click there.
It's safe. You can click. No, like there's no repercussions for doing that. But actually, in the next slide, we will see that there's like an entire attack chain that Vitaly will explain.
Yeah, let me explain with this little animation of how the overall infection happens. So once they choose a target company, they normally research it online. They look who is playing in the cryptocurrency businesses, where the investors, like who they're interacting with, what are the prominent companies on the rise, who may get more funds, and then you try to approach the target either through the email, it can also be LinkedIn, it can be a WeChat message, it can be Discord message. So they try to send you this link to the document, to the docx downloader that goes to that URL where you open the doc. So if the user does that, what happens next is it's redirected to a server that does fingerprinting. So it does save information about the Office version of the operating system you're opening it on. Is it 32-bit by any chance? Maybe you're on a local machine. Is it 64-bit like version of the Office as well? And then they can push the right file to you that will work on your particular system. But before that, they do target validation. They need to expect you at a specific time. Maybe you must come from a country that you're residing, they expect you from. And next is, well, if you passed all the checks, they're going to send you this docx, a second file that is loaded by Microsoft Word in memory only. It is not saved to a disk, not even cached, I think. So it exists only in RAM. And these two files together, when the template is downloaded, it contains Visual Basic macro, a script that can execute like a program and can do pretty much anything with your system. So what it does, it first activates the payload, it extracts the malware, and then keeps running it in RAM without touching the disk. But also it modifies the original downloaded document so that it removes the link that goes to that fishy URL. So it is no longer containing any traces of malicious intent. So when investigators like us, when researchers come to such machine, we normally find, a bunch of benign documents. So one of them used to be malicious, but no longer is. So unless you know exactly what you're looking for, maybe you can recognize by content, by name, you can, have a gut feeling that it's it. It's really, really hard to find that where it comes from and why it is malicious. If you identify this, if you, let's say, found, okay, that was the document, we received it by email, it was probably different when it was downloaded first, you try to re-download it. If you follow the same chain through fingerprint and target validation through the URL that was in the email, it is no longer available. So the thing is that that document that contains the malicious payload, kind of a detonator, it is given to the user, it is sent to the user only once. So it's a one-shot attack, and if the user clicked, the document is gone. So there is nothing left for the investigators. You cannot really prove the chain of events that happened when the machine was infected. But malware is still there. It is active. It can drop files on disk if required, but they tend to live in RAM without leaving any traces on disk, which makes them safer and harder to discover. So, speaking of the findings, like what else is left on the victim system and what we managed to discover? Over to you, Dan.
Basically, now the victim is infected. They have malware which is gain persistence, and the attackers are able to modify system files. Of course, their primary target is to steal money, and the most famous or the most attacked wallet is the MetaMask Ethereum wallet. And because MetaMask is running in the browser, they are actually targeting your browser. Either it can be Chrome or Firefox, but we've seen most cases where Chrome MetaMask was modified in the Chrome. But how do they modify it? This is the interesting part, because you cannot just go there and say, you cannot install a new browser. So instead, they go and they try to turn on developer mode. You can see here that in our slide that the developer mode, they have like a tick, and once they do that, they gain access to either inject their own wallet, or they can modify the existing wallet that was installed by the user. And on the left side, you can see that a valid, an unaffected installation. It says source Chrome Web Store. So that's like an uninfected machine. But on the right-hand side, you can see that it says unpacked extension, and it's loaded from a specific path. And this specific path was actually used by the attackers once they managed to get access to that machine. But you must ask yourself, why do they want to do that? Well, MetaMask is managing... Yeah, Vitaly?
Sorry to interrupt then, but maybe just a quick hint to those who are using Chrome or using MetaMask. Just maybe it's time after the presentation, go and check if you have developer mode enabled. Normally, it has to be disabled for all plugins. You must use really, unless you are a developer yourself, you must use Chrome Web Store provided plugins because they contain digital signature that is validated, forcibly validated by Google Chrome. And if the plugin is tampered with, then Chrome will just reject such a plugin, will not load it, and that is for your own safety. Make sure that developer mode is not on unless you're really developing a plugin for Chrome.
And even then, if you have like any amount of crypto, I would say our recommendation is to have a dedicated laptop where you have your wallet and you do your day-to-day activities with crypto. And if you do development, no problem, but do it on another system, because we've seen so many cases of supply chain attacks where developers who had access to various other critical systems were targeted, and then through their developing tools, attackers gained access to the other valuable information.
So tell us, what do they do exactly with this MetaMask extension? How exactly do they modify it?
So you can see it here. This is a screenshot from an actual victim. In this screenshot, the attackers actually have they have three hard-coded strings in the MetaMask source code where they are monitoring transactions. So they try to monitor specific transactions, and it's not presented here, but once the code sees that specific transactions are being alerted, are being labeled, are found actually, that are used by the victim, then a request is being made to the attacker's C2 server, and they get alerted that these specific monitored addresses have been used.
Just maybe a quick addition, what's presented here, you see the highlighted part in the yellow, and then on the left-hand side, you see like two vertical bars. These are two files compared, and the highlighted part on in black, I think, like the tiny strokes are the changed parts. It's a minor change to a file of a MetaMask extension that was made. And to be honest, the overall file, the JavaScript that it used to be like a single big file of MetaMask extension, is like something like 60,000 lines of code in JavaScript. Now think about this: these guys who did the injection, they had to somehow find the right place, scrolling through these crazy like thousands of lines of code, trying to understand where to inject this properly, test it that it works, doesn't crash, doesn't cause any issues, and then implement this code, inject into MetaMask. It is a huge complexity of the job done, but it's just fascinating how they did this, and we've seen them doing this like almost like in our investigation. We have seen that since the infection until modification of the plugin, they took about a couple of months to implement a stable version, and then the money were stolen. So this one, like Dan said, was monitoring transactions, and we found another one. Then can you talk about the second one?
Yeah, the second case you can see here also with yellow. It's a diff. It's changes made by the attackers, the additions added to the source code of MetaMask. You can see here that in this case, instead of just monitoring specific hard-coded values, actually they are fetching the values that the user is inputting, like a destination, where to send the funds to. They are querying their server. You can see that they're making a GET request to a specific domain /metamask/config.php, they are sending the metadata, and the server returns to the Rogue extension, returns an answer saying, hey, replace the destination funds that the user originally copied, replace it with something else, or give something else back to the user. So in this case, in our second example, this is more like a dynamic interaction between the Rogue MetaMask extension and the attacker server, C2 server.
Wait a second, Dan. I'm pretty sure that our audience is looking at this. Wow, this is all cool and nice, but they probably don't care, especially those who have a strong protection from such threats. They just may not trust the computer, the laptop they may be operating from. Even if the extension is compromised, they feel safe because they have this.
Of course, hardware wallets, Trezor, Ledger.
So how about that? Does it makes us safe, right?
Well, unfortunately, and I'm saying unfortunately because we've talked to some of the victims, and they weren't safe. They weren't safe. And the reason they weren't safe, it's not because of the a flaw in the hardware token. No, the tokens were untampered. They were like state of the art. They were like working as intended. But rather, the attackers were deploying a psychological trick, which is they used a flaw in the UX of displaying the actual details of the transaction, for example, in Trezor. And they knew that if the victim expects that they have to approve a transaction, and in most cases, addresses are like super long, like it's hard to read, hex addresses, like the victim would not check carefully, would not check all of the information presented in the hardware wallet. And the victim, because the victim expects to actually move some money, and the pop-up comes on the hardware wallet, then in most of the cases that we talked to the victims that we talked to, in most cases they just blindly pressed approve, and then once they did that, the money were gone.
So the trick is that the malware injects the different address right at the moment when the user initiates the transaction, right?
Yep. Exactly then, and then when the user expects that the transaction will be asked by the hardware wallet. So the attackers knew that if they would, let's say hypothetical, they would start generating transactions trying to steal your money, I don't know, at 3 a.m. in the morning, or like 5 a.m. or at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Users, victims would be like kind of suspicious. They would say, hey, I didn't initiate this transaction. Why is this transaction popping up on my hardware wallet? I will refuse it. And then they would know that something would happen. They would know that maybe they have their computer infected with malware. But no, the attackers actually are using this psychological trick to successfully deploy their attack. And unfortunately,
have this attackers been arrested yet?
Well,
question, I think.
Yeah. This is a really nice question from our public as well, and I have another one after this slide. We've seen indictments, and not only indictments, but we've seen by the FBI and Department of Justice, they actually said these are the people responsible for $1.3 billion dollars stolen in cash and cryptocurrency by these attackers. We do not know where they are. We do not know whether they might be caught or not. We hope they will be caught. Probably they might not leave the country where they operate from, but the fact is that the U.S. Department of Justice, they actually have an indictment, and they are searching for the perpetrators. And before we go to our next attack, our next group, I have a question from one of our audience, from the audience, and the question is as follows: if APT attacks are typical for cryptocurrency companies, or do APT attacks more sophisticated? Do we start to see them happening more often? What do you think, Mr. Vitali?
What we call APT traditionally is related to nation-state sponsored groups that operate on very big budgets, and their main goal is normally collect intelligence. Um, so they collect information. They don't steal money. They have enough financing and budget, and they don't need to commit crime. Many of them are contractors to the government or government employees. So EPTs, generally speaking, are not interested in such attacks. So Blue North is the group that is part of Lazarus, and Lazarus is one big APT believed to be associated with nation state that actually breaks the rules and they steal money. They are really doing this on a very, very large scale. So they have been very active in the past years, hitting banks. Now they are after cryptocurrency companies. So yes, the answer to this is there are more and more attacks. We were involved in some of the investigations in the past year. Like I live in Singapore, we had victims, like already several victims in Singapore from cryptocurrency startups. Running on money of investors, and then getting attacked and losing their funds, and getting in a big trouble because of that. So yeah, this is happening pretty much all around the globe where there are cryptocurrency companies. I'm pretty sure that Blue North will be knocking on their doors as well.
Yeah, and what we've seen actually in the past year is that Blue Norov specifically is looking for fresh startups, fresh players in the cryptocurrency industry, and they're going either after the company itself or after the members of the founding members, like the founders, CTO, CEO, which in some cases, people who are building these startups, they don't have a strong security background. Some people are actually more into like business oriented, how to build a company, but rather how to secure, how to have proper OPSEC, etc., etc. And Blue Norov is actually exploiting this fact. They know it very well, and they go after private people, part of the company, because they know that also when they are launching like an ICO or something, they have some tokens which might be valuable in the near future.
Let me talk about another threat actor. Well, Bill North is believed to be associated with North Korea, and that they hammer South Korea a lot. But there are other Korean-speaking threat actors that hit South Korea. One of them is this naive copy that we discovered starting from March 2022. The actor used cryptocurrency-related contents or complaints from law enforcement as lure themes in the attack. An infection chain involved remote template injection, very similar to Lunar, but there's no other connection, so we think it's still a separate, different attacker. They spawned malicious macro as well, but they use multi-stage infection, a very different code, making use of Dropbox to deliver the payload. Finally, after beaconing the victim's host information, the malware attempts to fetch the final stage. And luckily, we had a chance to acquire that final stage from the Dropbox, which was still available during the time of research. And that one was designed to exfiltrate sensitive information from the victims. So typical targets are stock and crypto investors here. So again, CryptoFox. It emerged, we think that the year before we discovered this, we started in March. So in April 2021, it was already active. We found some early traces of it when it abused COVID-19 topic as a lure at that time. And yeah, Dropbox as a delivery, probably bypassing all the network filters because Dropbox is a legitimate service. We've seen victims and targets in South Korea and Mexico, in the UK, so it's pretty much worldwide threat, but most of the victims were in South Korea. And as a result of analyzing this final ballot, we found more samples in year 2021. So they used Excel document at the time, also used Windows self-extracting archive as an attack vector. And the malicious package that was used at that time in 2021 was disguised as a setup program to install a certification application for Binance cryptocurrency exchange. So I'm not sure if that's legitimate if such tool exists, Binance certification app, but that's how they used to trick users. So once user installs something that legitimately looking it doesn't even show kind of license agreement or service agreement in the end of the installation in the notepad, but in the background, of course, it runs malware. So what malware does, it tries to steal Chrome cookie cookie encryption key first of all, and then it is used, of course, to exfiltrate other browser information, including cookies that are stored encrypted, but with the key they can decrypt it on the server side. Well, we actually work closely with Korean CERT and some ISPs in the country to shut down the attacker's infrastructure, preventing additional infections. In terms of attribution, we can't really find precise connection to known threat actors. There was some similarity to APT called Kony, so there's no blue North in the story, but yeah, again, Kony is believed to be using Korean language, has been associated with Korean-speaking threat actor in the past. Now, let's talk about the latest development, what we discovered, something that was on the rise in the past months. Dan, would you like to speak about this?
I was muted. So I was saying that I would like to speak a little bit about some research that we actually published today. You will see the link in the chat, in the announcement. You can see our research published on securelist.com. And it all started in December 2021 when the Tor network was blocked in Russia. Basically, you couldn't access Tor network like in Russia. And then what happened? You can see that basically there was an attempt to for some internet providers to start to block the Tor network, and then the problem is that Russia is one of the countries with the second largest numbers of Tor users, like 300,000 users daily. It's like 15% of all Tor networks. So like it became a problem. So then
to be precise, just to correct you a little bit, they tried to block, first of all, the Tor project website where you can download the distributives, the installers of the Tor browser. So this way they tried to prevent usage of Tor browser to access internet, bypassing existing controls and monitoring of the network, bypassing the blacklisted websites in Russia and so on. So they, of course, try to block now the Onion network as well, but initially it was blacklisting Tor project website to prevent people from downloading those installers of the Tor browser. And this is what was abused.
Yeah, because then you'd be facing the issue of where do you download the Tor installer? And then we noticed and we identified an interesting package, and we discovered like hundreds of trojanized Tor browser installs. But one of them was interesting. One of them was an SFX self-extracting archive. And then like we said, okay, let's do it manually. Let's do it ourselves. We extracted the archive using 7-zip. And then you can see that inside there's another Tor browser installer and two more small files. Now this is interesting, It's like an installer inside an installer. And I think this was interesting because it was digitally signed. So that was actually the real Tor browser installer, correct? If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Vitali.
That's correct. So the one inside had digital signature, which was valid. It was coming from the Tor project. But of course, the wrapper of it, the SFX, was just an imitation. So it had no digital signature at all.
And then in the imitation, when you extract it, you would see that there are two more files. And then basically there was an extractor, which was blah, 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 part1.exe. And then there was this another file. And then if you wanted to extract this file, it was password protected. So if you ask, hey, Vitaly, hey, Dan, why did they do that? Well, it's simple. Because even if you have like an antivirus installed on your machine, on your computer, the antivirus cannot scan encrypted files. It's not encrypted, it's like password protected files. And then basically the attackers leveraged this method because the extractor itself had the password. So basically the antivirus didn't know how to access the contents of the files, but the malicious executable had the password for the file. So once they did that, you can see here, if we put the pieces together, you have the malicious extension which extracted the actual legitimate tor-browser.exe, which then extracted 2 more files, which part1.exe had the RAR password, plus it knew how to extract another file, which this was the actual malware. So this is pretty interesting, Vitaly.
And the malware that is dropped on disk somewhere deep into application data, roaming subdirectories belonging to Microsoft, it actually uses the icon of the muTorrent, popular torrent application, probably popular among those users who download the Tor browser as well. And it just uses it as disguise. So it registered itself into auto start of the system, and then when it runs, it just shows this benign icon. And it does nothing. It doesn't even connect to the network. And that's why we think it's a new breed of malware, because it very silently, what it does, it silently monitors the clipboard. So it is a clipboard interceptor and an injector. It just looks for unknown strings that remind the malware of cryptocurrency wallets, like Bitcoin addresses or Litecoin addresses and so on. And once it finds a match, it's going to replace it with one of its own. It contains a lot of its own. Just to make it harder for the police and the researchers, it contains we counted over 26,000 of different unique addresses that it used to pick, this random wallet to replace something that was in your clipboard. So if you copied somebody's address and you're planning to send money to someone using cryptocurrency, the destination address that you copied may be instantly replaced by such malware. Now, the currency it supports is Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Monero, Dogecoin, identified based on the addresses encoded and the regular expressions used to find the match in the clipboard. One important thing, it does not update. It does not even need the network, so there is no network traffic. So if you hope that you will find something, suspicious connections to, some malicious infrastructure anywhere, it is just completely silent. It doesn't abuse your CPU resources or doesn't use any memory. It's a very lightweight program, very light, very silent. And most importantly, it comes with a software that you probably trust. If you download the Tor browser, install it, well, you may not notice such thing. So it is really hard to detect for common users unless you have, some antivirus solution that can go and specific signature find that particular malware that we already processed. If it's something new, then chances are much lower.
And
so it doesn't expose any other malicious behavior. And most importantly, it is hard to analyze. Even if you are a technical person that can do reverse engineer yourself, that one is protected with Enigma Packer. If you haven't dealt with Enigma, go try. It's one of the hardest out there.
I remember you were mentioning that in the past, most of the malware was protected by VM Protect, but now Enigma is on another different level. It's like crazy. And
yeah. What about the victims?
Yeah.
How many have we counted? Can you talk about this?
I think there were like a peak of 3.5K. There were like victims at beginning of this year, and victimology we started to see victims starting from like second half of last year and up until now. Of course, we have like for users of Kaspersky, we have detections in place, and we published about the research. So the victims went kind of down as most AV engines started to detect, started to clean, to disinfect the infected systems. But you can see here, top of the countries confirmed infections. You can see IOCs and details of this malware in our published blog post from today. So if you want to check your computer, if you're not running Kaspersky, no problem. If you want to check your computer for if you might be infected with this malware, we published IOCs, we published ways. You have ways to check your computer for this stuff.
One note on the charts here, they actually, it looks like it's going down in March, not really. So it's just statistics that there's a gap. It's not like the fresh is up to date. So I think it's just the regular fluctuations of victims up and down, but it is continuing. It is not going down. So the trend is on.
I hope that more and more users will have their computer, they will scan their computer and hopefully get rid of this malware.
One important thing about the source, we haven't found really like where it was downloaded from. There was no particular URL. There is no website that is spreading this, which is interesting. So most likely we assume that it's coming either from the torrent downloads. Probably this is where you don't have a URL associated with an executable downloaded from. And maybe also shared or present in some of the local area networks. Most of the users that were hit were Russian-speaking. They are in Russia specifically, or what I have to mention also is Tor browser. By the way, the installer that they used was specifically targeting Eastern European users. So it was kind of packaged with languages such as Ukrainian, Russian, Belarusian. There was also Czech, I think, Slovenian for some reason. So it was kind of a special say regional build of the Tor browser. Not like there was not even English. It was there, but not any other language. Important question: how were they successful? How successful they were? Sorry.
If we look at how much they stolen, well, we mentioned that we've seen more than 26,000 wallets, and we have collected those wallets. We have collected transactions IDs from those wallets, and which likely revealed how much the attackers stole up until when we did our research up until now. And we've seen it's more like, I would say, $400,000, mostly in Bitcoin, and a little bit of Litecoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, Monero. We don't know yet. But the problem is that overall it tops around 350K from what we see. But the numbers may go up soon. As Vitaly mentioned, those infections are with a little bit with delay. So there might be users with crypto funds, with larger transactions that might be hit or might be already infected. And when they will try to do transactions, their clipboard will be changed, and maybe we will see, I hope not, but maybe we will see more money stolen in the next weeks or next month. And Mr. Vitaly, we have a question from the public, and the question, it is a really interesting one. Does using a hardware wallet mean 100% security? And
I think then we are coming here to actually our final part, which is a word of advice. Let's talk about hardware wallet and other means of like what can help you. So we need to really build your defense strategy. So let's start from hardware wallet.
Exactly. This is what I wanted to point out. Is like it's very important that you build your OPSEC properly. And nowadays, it's mandatory. It's mandatory that you strictly follow protocols and you use a hardware wallet. But not only a hardware wallet, you will see a little bit later that it's very important to also have a dedicated laptop, basically an out-of-bands laptop, where you do your transactions. Because as we've seen in the case of Blunorov where they successfully bypassed this hardware stealing money. And also in the case of this new malware that Vitaly mentioned before, when it's updating the address in the clipboard, that address will also be shown in the hardware wallet. But again, it's a psychological trick. If you don't check it properly and you're like rushing to click yes, 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 then you're gonna be with your funds stolen.
Yeah, one trick is like you may think like I'm doing like very tiny transaction. I'm sending, I don't know, $5 equivalent in cryptocurrency to somebody. But what is happening normally, they also replace the amount that is being transferred, not only the recipient address. So if they change to the maximum amount that you have in the wallet, then all your money will be gone with this transaction. You think it's a small one, you don't care to verify the address, no problem. Then all your money are gone within a moment. Moving on.
Also, yeah, I can speak about this one. And basically, it's very important to run updated software. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of victims handling medium to big amounts of cryptocurrency money, running unupdated Office, unupdated Windows, and basically unupdated software. That's why it's very important, especially when you're handling digital transactions like crypto coins, that the software, the device that is doing those transactions is like as secure as possible. So you need to update, use the latest operating system, whether it's like Windows, I'm using Linux. You have to have the latest update for your browser, latest update for your MetaMask wallet, and everything needs to be like top notch. Your OPSEC needs to be like extremely good.
Just to remind everybody, if you think about the big epidemics of like network worms in the past infecting millions of computers, all of those epidemics happened based on non-updated software. Really, there was no 0 days used. Vulnerabilities that were used to spread the worm, they were patched for months before the worm outbreak. And now it's another word of advice to keep your stuff updated, because it's on average 6 to 7 years since we see some big epidemics in computer, like cyberspace and as network worms outbreak. The last one was 6 years ago. So it is about time. So don't want to scare you, but keep your stuff updated. Really, it is very important. Now, also to prevent any kind of malicious backdoor software that comes with such example of Tor browser, right? So where did those users downloaded that Tor browser? Probably not from the Tor project. Why? Because Tor project was blocked for them. So they went for third-party sources and they thought, well, what can go wrong? It's just a Tor browser. So of course it came with the malware. So don't trust third-party sources, or if you do, you must be technical enough to be able to validate digital signature before running an installer. The installer must contain digital signature. It must be trusted, validated, and only then you can use it if you are going to use third party. Otherwise, don't just even start.
And I've seen sorry, yep. I've seen like a lot of cases, and some of my friends actually saying that when I was asking them, dude, why are you downloading from this like kind of shady website? But like it has like $300,000 $300,000 downloads. Everybody's downloading from here. It looks legit, but it doesn't. It might be legit, but just because a lot of people are downloading from an untrusted source, it doesn't mean that it's like trusted. It just means it's popular.
The numbers can be also skewed. Specifically, there may be an army of bots coming and kind of doing the download so that it looks legit, like a bunch of users have downloaded an app that nobody knows about. So just don't trust every number. Also, they can be just fake if it's a third-party store, perhaps. Now, I wanted to talk about a bit of future trends as well. Something that has been around. I mean, it's a hot topic now. All this ChatGPT, all the stable diffusion AI that is possible, to transfer styles, generate, synthesize images, synthesize voice that is really, really hard to recognize as artificial. Now think about this applied in real time by scammers. Somebody calling you, impersonating your friend, your partner, your relative, um, asking for help, and then you see the video link. You see like it's the person you know, it's the voice you recognize, and then the person is talking about something both of you know about some let's say shared context, and then asks you to do certain actions. Of course you will trust and will try to help person, especially if a person is in trouble. Then this is what AI is going to empower scammers with in the near future. So get ready to that, get a little bit more paranoid. Don't trust picture, don't trust even voice, don't trust the video link that you see. Try to validate with the person, using like secondary channel that attackers do not expect. Try to validate things, especially when it comes to significant, major transactions or investments, or transfers of property. Be a little bit paranoid there. One good way to be a little bit paranoid is always keeping in mind that you are a target. Try to use like one-time use devices, open documents from, let's say, unknown or unexpected sources in the virtual machine that is not connected to the internet, for example. Then just wipe that machine, just burn it, and then start again. Try to use some non-conventional setup, maybe harden the operating system, and try to think different. When you live as if you are a target, it is very, very hard to get you. This is something that we embrace as security researchers. We often feel that we are being chased by the black hats, by all these APT groups that are trying to understand what we are researching at the moment. So we are targeted all the time, and this feeling brings us to the elevated, at least, standards of security. Be a little bit like security researchers in this regard, and then stay safe. That's our best wish for all of you.
And don't forget that the more and more steps and measures to protect yourself you add to your day-to-day operating, day-to-day life, or your routines, basically we call them OPSEC. The more you add those things, which some of those habits might not cost you that much, it increases the cost for an attacker to target you exponentially. So easy things, small things that you're doing increases the cost for an attacker to successfully attack you, target you, and to steal the information, whether it's crypto coins or whether it's like important documents or company secrets from your digital devices.
Yeah, with this, I think we're more than an hour of talking now. People are tired, so now I think it's. If you do have some questions, please, you still have some time to ask them now live.
Yep, we are waiting for questions. Right now, we answered all the questions that I've seen. We answered them during our presentation. We are waiting for a few more questions. And I would like to take this opportunity to just say a fun fact about the presentation. I don't know if you noticed, but all the images, all the background pictures that you saw in the slides were actually AI generated by Mr. Vitaly here. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
It sounds like I am and the AI. I'm warning everybody about.
You are the AI.
Beware of AI. Beware of AI. Yeah, my video link is not real. My voice is synthesized. I'm not real. Just kidding. No, it concerns only the pictures, and actually not all of the pictures. Like there were some pictures in the presentations that were real. I mean, these
I don't know.
are real.
I don't know. I don't know the guy on the right.
He's kind of looking suspicious. The one on the right.
Yeah. It's a little bit suspicious. Yeah. Also, he's a little bit younger, so like suspicious. But
looks like you. Yeah. Tricky.
Yeah. Tricky. I remember a case where talking about AI and deepfakes. I remember I was reading an article where somebody had a deep fake of CEO of a company, and that CEO called financial officer basically as a deep fake, and the attacker asked the financial officer to transfer some funds. And because the officer didn't confirm the transaction on a secondary back channel, and he just trusted the appearance and the voice of the deepfake, that company lost some money.
Oh, that's pretty realistic. I can imagine. Imagine that there's an angry HR calling you and yelling at you. Dan, we have just transferred to you 10 times amount of your salary, of your bonus. You have to transfer things back, and then if it's somebody you recognize, then you may just follow the instructions. You can provide whatever access they will need from you.
Yeah. And basically, I think that's the last thing and we can wrap up the webinar as there are no other questions. I would say that based on my experience, the attackers, when they try to deploy such things, when like deepfakes or like urgent things, they always try to create an emergency situation where you have to act now. It's immediate, immediate danger, or something happens if you don't act now, if you don't do something that they ask you to do it in the next 10 minutes. And this is how they try to get past your defenses, by creating a fake emergency.
That's correct.
So be safe, stay alert, act as a victim. I think that's sound advice from Mr. Vitali.
As a target, not as a target.
Sorry. Act as a target. Don't be a victim. And be safe, read our webinars, and hope to see you at our next webinar.
Yeah, we just one final reminder that there's a blog post in the announcement section. You can read more about the clipboard injector attacks with some additional details. Thank you for your time. Thank you everybody for joining today. Stay safe.
Have a nice one. Bye.